I started my business, and I didn't initially say, just going to help the ladies. But after a while, I started to notice that the men wanted to always be the expert in the room, and that they wanted to take up all the space in the room. Like, let's shine the spotlight on them. And that the women, when there were men present, the women didn't get as much attention. And honestly, Jackie, what really, and I haven't said this, I don't think publicly before, is that there was a situation where I had a husband and a wife that were in business together. The wife was my client. She said, "Hey, could I bring my husband? Because we're in business together." I said, "Of course, fine." And then there was a sexual harassment thing that came up with one of my other participants. And that sealed it for me, because if my clients didn't feel safe in my room, of course, nobody's winning. And that's when I decided that I would only serve women. And I wish I had done it many years earlier. I guess I would say that's my one regret in the many years, because I see how much women thrive in community together. Now, there are, of course, other places where that doesn't happen, and that it's okay to have co-ed situation. But I found, for me, because I'm naturally very women centric, and that my mission on the planet is to uplift the lives of women through entrepreneurship, that it was a very smart and right move for me. One day in my early 20s, I'm sitting in my therapist's office. I'm talking about how, effed up my life is. And I had this kind of out of body experience where I saw myself complaining about my life, and it clicked for me, that this is not who I wanted to be. I didn't want to be this person saying that my life wasn't good. And that's when I actually hired my first coach, because I wanted to be more about action rather than why am I so screwed up. I wanted to focus on what did I want to create and how did I want to get there. And the truth is that we could spend a lifetime looking at why are we not the way we want to be. But with coaching, it's really all about what do you want to create and how do you want to get there. Now, let me be very clear. I'm a big advocate for counseling and therapy and all of that. I also, though, think that taking action to create what we want can also create a lot of positive change. And that's what happened for me. So I have had to work at being positive, and it's not fake. It's an intention. It's an intent. Hey, I am going to be positive in my life. We make a decision. A goal is a decision that has been made. And that is one of the things that how I want to live my life as a positive person.
That is such a great point. I just want to sit in that for a second, because we see women online, we see women in our lives, and it may feel like, oh, she's so positive right here, but I've seen her lose her shit, and then feel that disconnection between who she's putting herself out there to be and who she might actually be. But you make such a great point. It's not necessarily that we put it out there because we are this. We're setting an intention that this is who we want to be.
Right.
So I see a lot of women who struggle with positivity, with action, with coaching, with all of these things, because they feel like they have to choose a lane. Mm-hmm. And I think we're more than just one lane. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And the thing that I think is very important is authenticity. I don't claim to have it all figured out. I'm very open with my client community about my struggles that I've had, that I've gotten through, and my struggles now. As long as you're above ground, there's going to be some area that you want to upgrade.
Yes.
And at the same time, the focus is not on the challenge. The focus is on what do I want? How do I want to get there? What do I need? What do I need to ask for? Where do I need support? And if people see you as a real person, that's way more relatable than the coach or speaker on the stage who, is super fit, who tells you about their amazing life with their amazing travel and their perfect spouse, and their kids are off to the perfect schools, and everything is ideal. That's a little bit intimidating or unrealistic and even unrelatable for a lot of people. And so the more we can be ourself, our authentic self, who we are, and bring that forward and say, hey, here's some things I'm working on, and here's what I'm really good at that I can really help you with, then your people will step forward to be served by you.
So powerful. So some of the listeners of the Grown Ass Woman's Guide are coaches, entrepreneurs, creatives, and some are really in a state of transition. So maybe have been working corporate, maybe have been working within the family, or ready for something different. Do you believe as a business coach that all women have the capability to start a business?
Well, everyone has the capability, meaning, they know how to take action, but there are a lot of traits that will allow them to not only start, but to continue. One of the things that we've seen during the pandemic is that, and everybody has a great excuse. The pandemic is a great excuse for not following your dream, doing your thing, growing your business, shutting the doors on your business. You need an excuse, you got a great one. And then there's a whole nother group of gals that have demonstrated the determination that they have to make sure their business continues to thrive, to make sure they continue to serve. When the pandemic started, Jackie, I did all community meetings on Zoom for my clients. We did them for 6 months because in the beginning there was a lot of uncertainty. Well, let's be uncertain together. Let's find solutions together. Let's make sure everyone's getting their PPP money if they want it and they're eligible. Let's make sure everybody knows how to pivot to Zoom. Let's do what we can to uplift each other. Now, some women did that. Okay, let's get busy. And some women chose to let it have them put aside whatever they were doing. So it's not just about what we do in business. I know you know this. It's about who we are. And I would say that determination is one of the ingredients that I see more and more is so important for us to thrive. Yeah, anybody can start a business, but who's going to be in business same time next year?
Right.
Is not only determination, but other things that will make a difference.
And if knowing what you know now, if I came to you and said, Caterina, I would like to start a business, are
Okay,
you
great.
giving me the same advice as you would have given me 2 years ago?
I'm talking a lot more about determination these days than I did 2 years ago. That's for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm talking more about a willingness to be uncomfortable. The other thing I'm talking more about is moving towards mastery. That earlier in my career, we would talk about how to make your business thrive, but now we're talking more about how to be masterful at your thing and get support with those things in business that are not your job. Because let's take, for example, Jackie, a woman starts an image consulting business. She wants to help ladies be more confident. She wants to help them look good. Well, and when she starts, she doesn't usually realize she's got to be a social media expert. She's got to be a sales expert. She's got to be a speaking expert. She's got to be a strategy expert. And all she wants to do is help ladies look good. But there's so much more when you have a business. And that's why we want to get support for those things that are not our job so that we can actually focus on the areas that we do have to master to thrive in business.
I love that. And if the pandemic has given us anything, it's more people who are interested in doing those things that we don't do best. Social media, writing,
Exactly.
or whatever it is that you don't want to do.
Exactly. And the other thing that's happened during the pandemic, and as you know, there's been this grand exodus of women out of jobs, starting their own businesses, because technology allows us now in so many areas to do business from anywhere. I have a new person I just added on my team who's in Alaska. My other person is in Kentucky. My other person is in Washington. I do have an on the ground assistant in San Francisco where I live. My other assistant is in Texas. So, and by the way, I have ladies been on my team. For many years, I've never even met because of this geography difference. And it doesn't matter because of technology. So a lady in Alaska who doesn't have anybody within 50 miles of her where she lives, she can have a thriving business. That's exciting.
Yes. Are many of the women who you work with have location freedom or
Location independent? Yes. Well, let me say this, Jackie, one of my dreams for a very long time was to have my own center in San Francisco. Because I used to go to the hotels and give big money to the hotels to do my big events, with 100 people, and even my trainings, like 20 ladies in the room. I would rent a hotel meeting room. And then I decided one day, after giving way too much money to a hotel that I didn't feel was appreciating it, I said, I'm going to get my own place. Well, it took me 6 years from when I proclaimed that before I got my own place. So I have got my own center in San Francisco, meaning I love getting together live and in person with the ladies. That's what we did pre-pandemic. But you know what that means? That means my VIP client in Chicago or Rhode Island or Maine or Florida, she can't come to my center. And now with the pandemic, I still got my center. It's not getting as much use as it did before.
right?
But now I get to serve ladies all over. And the power of being in Florida and having friends in California that you can relate to that are doing something similar to you is wonderful. And I love doing everything virtual right now. I still host my live and in-person retreats, but other than that, we're doing everything virtual because of the accessibility that having to drive somewhere doesn't offer.
Right. As you pointed out, the pandemic has offered us ways to look at things differently. In your experience with your clients, have you had clients who have brick and mortar businesses who had to close? What does resilience look like in them?
Yeah, well, let me say this. I've got one fabulous client who has a spa, come to my location and get a massage. And of course, pandemic, no massaging happening. What she started to do, she got certified as a mindset coach, money mindset coach for women, because again, all under the umbrella of women empowerment. Now she's back doing her massages. And by the way, an ionized foot bath, I highly recommend for detoxification.
Yes, please.
Okay. It's wonderful, but she's not just doing that. She's no longer relying on people have to be able to come to my spa for me to generate income.
Yes.
She now has other revenue streams that she's created. And she also sells aromatherapy, which anybody can buy aromatherapy anywhere. So that's one example. My clients with brick and mortar or not with brick and mortar, they've all stayed in business because they pivoted. And I don't even necessarily like that word. They shifted their service to how can I do it without having to meet with people live and in person.
Right. I think a lot of people have just said, oh, I'm closing the doors and that's it.
No, I mean, if you were looking for a way out, you have a good excuse. If you weren't looking for a way out, hopefully you've been able to adjust your service so that you can connect with more people. I want to say even my fabulous gal, Maritza in Florida, she makes soaps, beautiful soaps. Well, we talked and I said, my friend, you got your soaps, but what's soaps all about? They're about self-care for women, self-love. Now she's become a self-love and a self-care mentor. She's doing workshops and she's getting more women to buy her pampering boxes now because they're coming to her workshop.
Right.
And this is so beautiful. And Jackie, I have to point out this lovely, beautiful lady as a Body by Kiki. She stutters. And you would think she's the last person who's ever going to be doing a workshop. You know what? She's so phenomenal and so fabulous with her positivity. You don't even notice. You don't even care about that. And I share that because oftentimes people think there's this one thing that prevents me from making my dream come true. And I want to say that despite whatever our challenges are, we can still make it happen. It might look a little bit different, but don't let anything stop you.
And there are a lot of women out there who want to make a true impact, who want to share their experience, their expertise. But I also see a lot of women who are paralyzed by, I need this certification. I need this degree. I need, the letters behind my name. What would you say to those women?
Poppycock.
Okay, I love that answer. Poppycock.
Because here's why. When I was young, I'm in my 50s now. When I was in my 20s, people would say to me, well, what's your background? Which is another way of saying, who the hell are you to talk to me about whatever it is? But as soon as you get a few years under your belt, what people care about is, how can you help me? That's what they care about. And nobody's asked me in many years, what's my certification? Because when you bring your massive value, people see you can help them. And let's just mention here, nobody buys from us until we have influence. The influence equation is visibility plus value plus consistency. As long as you're bringing your value, that's all people care about. How can you help me? And this is why I'm such a big advocate for speaking. And I say that in the broad sense of the word, like we're doing right now, podcast guesting, hosting a room on Clubhouse, doing a Zoom workshop. These are all ways that we get to bring our massive value. And then once people start to see that we can help them, they're going to be an insta yes to work with us.
Right.
Regardless of what VIP school you went to. And here's what I want to say to anybody listening who's thinking, okay, Caterina, maybe that's good for you. Here's what I want to say. You want to do a workshop? Here's what you need: a date, a time, a price, and a topic. That's it. You don't need to get ready to begin to think about getting going. I was giving a speech yesterday. There was this lady. She's been doing her thing for 25 years. She wants to get her group program started. She could do it with one eye closed and one hand tied behind her back. She doesn't need any preparation, and this is why so many women have the perfection gene, Jackie. It's like they want to get it perfect. Well, I want everyone to know perfection is not required. It's not even encouraged. And ready is a myth. Ready is a myth. How do you become masterful at something? You start to do it, and you do it over and over and over. And if you want to do a workshop or a group program or start to speak, the way to do it is to do it. And the more you do it, the better you'll get.
Yeah. I just want, that is the most powerful thing you could say to my audience, because including myself, in that we're waiting for these letters, we're waiting for this experience, we're waiting for, whatever, this permission slip, we're waiting for a variety of things to actually get started. And you're absolutely right. When I first launched, this podcast used to be called 40 Thrive. When I first launched it, actually it was before the podcast, I set up a hotel room, embassy suites room, and a date. And I invited people to come, and I was terrified that no one would come to this event. And it was standing room only. I brought in the experts. I have such access to incredible women like yourself, brought them in. They shared their gifts. We had such an incredible time. I did it once. I did another co-branded version with somebody else. And then I haven't done it since. I mean, a lot of it is, COVID and all of that, but you're absolutely right in that. And then I start to go like, well, what if I can't replicate that? What if I can't do that again? Of course I can. Of course I can. But if we're not in motion, we start to really just look from afar, from a distance, at what we can and cannot do, as opposed to just being in motion, just being in action. I mean, I teach my clients all the time. I mean, action is the answer to it all.
Exactly.
Because, not only can you figure out what you want, but you can actually, using the word pivot, you can't pivot if you're not moving.
Hey, that's a great quote, my friend. You could make a meme out of that. That was really good.
I'm a walking meme, but you
That's
can't.
beautiful.
And so I love that you're confirming my suspicions that action is really the way to go. And the one thing I love about, when I was doing a little research on you and reading about you is that you talk about wearing your heart on your sleeve in your business. For me, my history in television, there's a long time there that I pretended I didn't have children, or at least I didn't pretend I didn't have children, but I certainly didn't bring them up. I didn't advertise it. I didn't, you just tried to act like you had no personal life, that everything that you offered was all about the work because you wanted to get the next job after the job you had. And there's such a shift in business now. And I'll talk specifically about women, that our children are an asset, that our love life is an asset, or our desire to take days off, to recharge, to go to retreats, and to share our needs for being a full, actualized person is actually an asset now. So how do you see wearing your heart on your sleeve? How does that look in your business?
I like to say, you call it an asset, Jackie. I agree. I'm going to say it's alluring. The fact that you are a mother is going to be alluring for women that are also moms. The fact that you are not only having a thriving career, but you're also having a thriving personal life, that is not only an asset, it's alluring to the woman that wants to have a business and also an amazing relationship.
Right.
And so recognize that the more we amplify who we are, the more our people will step forward. And I want to say, I actually encourage people not just to wear their heart on their sleeve. I encourage everyone to wear their heart all over their business and to infuse love and kindness as standard operating procedure in your business, and to look for big and small ways to do that. Because don't think just because we're grown-ups that we don't appreciate love and kindness and acknowledgement. We do, and we can never acknowledge anyone too much. The other day I was giving a talk. Everyone was on the Zoom. I could see all the boxes. And it was actually a meeting that they told me it was going to be women entrepreneurs, but it really turned out to be about 90% women that had jobs. So I adjusted my speech. And one of the things I had them do was I teach them what I call my masterclass in acknowledgement in 2 minutes, which is not just about what somebody does, not just about how they're being while they're doing it, but also how it impacts us. And we did a little acknowledgement circle. And these successful corporate women, some of them teared up, some of them shed a couple tears. Every one of them, though, lit up like a Christmas tree when they got acknowledged. Because especially, and I would imagine corporate people more, when somebody acknowledges us and is kind to us and is loving towards us, it makes us feel seen. It makes us feel valued. It makes us feel that we matter. And wouldn't it be great if you mentioned earlier about we use our business to have impact? Well, aren't those some of the ways we want to impact people? And don't be afraid to be loving and kind in your business. And this is important for us to point out, Jackie, because a lot of women started their career in a corporate environment where they were told, it's not okay to be emotional at work. It's, like you said, hey, don't bring your personal life to the office. It's not, that's a detriment, right? Well, I'm encouraging everybody just the opposite. Amplify your amazing life, because that will attract your people, and amplify your amazing heart, because that will have your people not only feel seen and heard and valued, but they're never going to want to leave because of how they feel when they're with you. Because we're not just looking for clients, we're looking for long-term and lifelong clients. And that means that they don't just get value in one way, they get value in lots of ways.
I love that shift and that it's actually happening. I don't think it's happening in all industries, but it's certainly happening in many more than 20 years ago. So I imagine the woman who's sitting listening to you and going, oh, that's easy for you to say. I want to do this thing. I want to show up and amplify, but I'm terrified. What would you say to her?
I would say all feelings are valid. And if you want to be safe, don't be an entrepreneur. But the truth is that being scared is part of the job description. Being willing to be uncomfortable, risk taking, taking action and making decisions, even when you don't know it's the right one. But the thing about it, let's just remind everybody, a successful woman makes decisions quickly. The thing is, though, even if you don't make the right decision, you can make the decision right. And this is something for everyone to understand. You make a decision. Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to invest in this. Okay, I'm realizing this wasn't the right decision. How can I make the decision right? And what's the learning from it? The thing about starting a business is you don't know what you don't know that you don't know. And this is why having a coach and a mentor is so important. You know, you asked me, Jackie, earlier, what would I have told the new entrepreneur? I would say, get an amazing coach right away, but not based on what results the coach is getting. Of course, they have to have some good results, based on your values, that your values have to match your coach's values, because we all teach and mentor from our values. So if my top value is integrity, which it is, I better have a coach that's their top value. If my value is community, then I better have a coach that's their value, so that they're mentoring me because our values match. Now I'm going to get some really good mentoring. Too many women are picking coaches because they're good at sales and they're good at the razzle dazzle, and not really looking, okay, does this person have the same values as me? And that's what we want from a mentor.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so how does one go about finding out those values and finding a coach that might be aligned with her?
Well, this is where you want to watch, learn, spend some time with someone who you're thinking about doing some coaching with, go to their workshop, go to their event, look at their website, talk to their clients, and see. And you can even ask them, what are the top values by which you run your business? Now, sometimes I'm going to tell you, I went to a session with my coach a few years ago, and she was doing this exact discussion we're having. What are the values by which you run your business? And she's a good friend of mine. And so I said to her, I said, my friend, you have a key value missing on your list. And integrity was not on the list. Now, the thing is, I know this mama is super integrity. But the thing is, sometimes we are so much something that we don't even recognize it. So that's why it's not just about asking, it's about observing. Now she has it on her list. By the way, the value I got from her that is on my list, which was not on my list before, which I think is a very good value, efficiency. Because we're all so creative over here with our brilliant idea syndrome, Jackie. Hey, let's do this. Let's do this. And then when she said to me, be more efficient, because we're supposed to be profitable in business too, right? So that is one of the values that I've brought in that wasn't a natural fit for me. And I share that because we want to have efficiency. We want to have integrity. I recommend community building. That is a key ingredient that everyone's looking for. Of course, we want to bring massive value. And I want to encourage everyone to have love and kindness be one of the values by which they run their business.
I love that. And so, what's the best way to even find, before you get to the workshops, before you dive in deeper, how do you find her in the first place?
Okay. Look at the women that you admire. Look at the women that are 10 steps ahead of you, or 5 steps, or 3 steps, or 2 steps ahead of you, that they're doing what you want to be doing, and they're a little further along. And ask them, who's their coach? Who are coaches that they've worked with previously?
Great point.
And then go watch those coaches. Go look at those coaches. Go see, because And by the way, say, who did you work with that you wouldn't recommend? And let me
Right.
say something, Jackie, since now the first several years of my business, I had a coach, but I didn't really have someone really helping me with my business. And then as soon as I got smart and started to do that, made a huge difference. But I would also tell you that I've learned just as much from the coaches that were lacking as the coaches that were amazing, because there is tremendous value in learning what not to do. Okay.
Absolutely.
At the same time, let's find the people that are really good. And so when you ask people, who's your coach? Also ask them, who else have they worked with? Because you will also get a list of who to avoid.
That's great. What would you say to that woman who's listening and saying, I'm not far enough along to hire a coach? Maybe she doesn't have the experience or the money or, what every other.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, here's where the power of group programs come in. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, I will say when I started doing group programs, my revenue tripled. I was already at six figures. My revenue tripled because you can serve so many more people. It's so much more affordable for them with a group program. That is what I want everybody to recognize. So with that in mind, look for group programs. Like if you're realizing you need to learn sales, go get a group program with a sales coach. Don't feel like it has to be one-on-one. In fact, for many years, I thought maybe I'm not coachable because I was not thriving with one-on-one. Then I got a good one-on-one coach who really helped me. But group programs are an amazing and affordable way. And here's the other thing. Then you don't just get a coach. You get a whole community of people to collaborate with, to connect with, to be clients with. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. And I actually enjoy, I don't want to offend my one-on-one clients, but I enjoy my groups for exactly that reason. When you finish, when I look at some of the groups that I've run before and I see how those women are still connected and still empower each other and still, support each other online, I get excited because I know that they met through that program and that's where they were empowered to support each other. So you're absolutely right. I think that this is so helpful. I think that there's no better time for a woman to put herself out there, to share what she does best or what she does different. I always say, that thing that makes you different, be that. I live in the suburbs of Los Angeles where houses in neighborhoods tend to look alike, right? You have to look at the numbers very carefully because the houses look alike. That's what social media looks like often with women coaches. And so if you're going to hire a coach, find out what makes her different. I love talking to you. I love hearing about your values and what makes you different from other women out there. But also, if you're going to become someone who's a guide, a coach, a mentor, really own that thing that makes you different. We're taught as young people, teenagers, to try to blend in. Those days are gone.
Absolutely. You've got to be yourself. You've got to amplify your authenticity and also get clear what you're not, because I do agree with you. There's a lot of cookie cutter out there. And the other thing is that people get very intimidated because they look at everybody's everything and they think everybody's more successful than me. No, they just are good at social media, but you're also not seeing, the days that things are not amazing. And this is why it's important to put yourself out there in whatever way works for you,
Right.
because when you're making yourself available to your people, they will show up. But one of the things, Jackie, is I recommend everyone have a Zoom thing every month, a 1 hour free something, so that they always have something to invite people to. Because if you don't have something to invite people to that is one to many, not one-on-one, in my opinion, you're working too hard. And there you get to showcase your massive value and build influence. And then you can invite people to a conversation. And by the way, I don't do discovery calls. I don't do whatever those things are. And I didn't do it when I started. Now, doesn't mean I don't talk to people about working with them. I don't do it until after I've built influence. Come to my workshop or hear me speak. Then we can have a conversation. I don't want to be trying to convince anybody to work with me when they have no awareness of the massive value that I bring. And
Right.
this is a key point, because a lot of people are teaching, oh, do discovery calls. And a lot of people are not having a lot of success with that. And I think a lot of it is a complete waste of time. Build influence first before you ask people to buy.
Yeah. It's like expecting somebody to propose to you when you haven't even gone on a date.
Exactly.